So this is the first story of a certain fish species video. Today I'll be telling you the story of the Kuhli lox in this tank, the three species of Pangeolox, or maybe four species in this tank. So I'm going to be elaborating on some of the stuff I said in the basic overview of the stock in this tank. The first species of Kuhli I'm going to be going over with you today are the black Kuhli, the Pangeo oblonga or oblonga. Yes, I think it's oblonga. As you can see there, and as I said in the overview, they're the most numerous species of fish in this tank. I believe I have 24 or 24 of them in here. So how they all started out was, to elaborate on what I said in previous videos, in the rundown, my first ever black Kuhli were in 2018, and this is the start of a recurring thing. I wasn't able to get them to reach their full potential. Like in 2018, I had like 6 or 8, I believe, and most of the time they hid, only coming out to eat mostly, and then rarely coming out in between. So unfortunately, most of those died from a tank crash, but as I alluded to in the basic overview video, it's possible one of them is still alive today with these Kuhli, with the rest of these black Kuhli. Anyway, in 2021, I got some more to accompany the survivor, but it was only 6 for a while. This was so in 2018 to 2021, I had 65 gallons or 240 liters tank. In 2021 and 2022, the new 6 Kuhli moved to the upstairs 473 liter or 125 gallon that future videos will go over. They were in that tank from I think about June 2021 to April or May 2022. So while they were in that tank, for the most part, there were only 6 of them, and they were behaving much the same, hiding a lot, not coming out too much outside of feeding time, and then until one day I got the idea to get some more. So I did. I got 18 more to increase the total to 24, and when I put them in the tank, it turned out the Pictus catfish that were in the upstairs tank, which future videos will go over, apparently they had grown to enough size. That was the point where they had grown enough size to start taking shots at the Kuhli. So the very same day, so none were eaten, I removed them. I actually moved them. It was unexpected because I expected to have longer, but I moved them to my to the 110 liter, my third, or 29 gallon, my third tank, which future videos will go over. Here's the thing. I expected with just 6 Kuhli, I expected the Pictus catfish. I'd gotten used to the Kuhli, didn't think of them as food, but apparently not. This was when I was much less experienced. I didn't understand just how predatory the Pictus catfish is. So anyway, they had to be moved to my 110 liter with my cardinal tetras, so that tank for a while was crawling. I think it was from late May to, or mid-May to late June 2022, crawling with black Kuhli. You might actually remember I gave you a shout out about that in 2022 on that journal I was keeping. I don't know if you remember, but you might. Anyhow, once it was late June 2022, this tank was set up, ready for fish, and once that happened, I was able to move them all back here. And, down here. Sorry, they weren't here before. Anyway, like I said, they were the most unexpected addition to this tank. I did not, as I said in the first overview video, I did not expect to have any black Kuhli in here. Anyhow, not all of them survived in the 110 liter. I suspect it may have been from health issues that Kuhli shipments can have. And so I ended up getting some more for the Boxing Day sale in 2022 to increase my total to 24 again. Those ones look to have been healthy enough. Thankfully, black Kuhli loch is one of the more robust species of Kuhli loch. It handles stress better than the others, than at least the more famous striped Kuhli lochs. And so far, they've been very, very much more active than just half a dozen, than just when there were half a dozen of them. At because like that's a huge difference, huge. I'm incredibly pleased with them. You will be hard pressed nowadays to find a time when there are not some black Kuhli lochs out. 6 versus 24 has made a huge difference. I would highly encourage double digit numbers, 20s to 30s if your tank has space. And my learning, now to get into my personal experiences and learning that's really part of a story as opposed to just a basic rundown. Anyway, my experience with these has taught me, for starters, that, well, besides just the kind of activity increase you get from having more Kuhli lochs than most people do, it's what you also get is the fact that you can keep more. If we're talking only about space, I don't know about water quality because that hasn't been a problem thus far for me. Speaking strictly on the basis of space, I think you can have a lot of them. This tank size, for a given tank size, is appropriate for a lot more than most people think. Because the thing is, as you saw, a lot of the time, or as you can see, I'll just turn the camera over. As you can see, they do like to be always close to one another. Sorry, it's not the best view because the margin of the tank is blocking it, but there's a big pile of them. Okay, you can see it a little more now. They do like to get together, and because they spend so much of their time so close together, something tells me the more of them there are, so that means with theirs being so close together, instead of individual fish all swimming around the tank, that suggests to me you can have more of them in a same size tank than you can most other fish if we're talking about space considerations. And I think it's the better for them. As long as you have appropriate space, that's the better, because they like all species of Kuhli lochs, they like the company. They like the security of being in a group, and of course it just looks great to see so many Kuhli lochs all together. And another thing is, they're also, of course, very slim and slender and flexible fish. So having so many of them, I don't believe that's a space problem for other bottom fish. Like, for example, the Burmese lochs or the weather lochs, they don't seem to have trouble swimming through hordes of Kuhli lochs. I think it's because of the flexibility. I think it's because of how thin the Kuhli lochs are. And I also think it's because the black Kuhli lochs, as you had seen earlier in the video, do like to spend time resting all bent in the fake plant, so they don't take up space from other species of fish in that regard. Anyhow, there's also another thing I think comes from just having them in a larger group in general. The next thing is they're a lot bolder. Like, feeding time videos will get to this, but, well, let's just say I made a kind of accidental discovery that's just as magical as the accidental discovery of, as we all know, of chocolate chip cookies. So one day, I think it was May 2023, so a year ago, I was vacuuming out dirt on the bottom, as I had always done, and as sometimes happens, a black Kuhli loch got caught in the vacuum, came right up to the bucket, so of course I had to grab it out, and then I put my hand back in the tank with the black Kuhli loch on it, just to let the Kuhli loch relax. I didn't just dump it back in. But here's the thing. The Kuhli loch never left my hand. It just moved around. Even when I slightly turned my hand away, it just swam with my hand. And then I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't expect them to be that tame. So what I did was I just tried putting my hand in and closer to the bottom, and eventually I started getting the Kuhli loch's attention so much that they just came right up to the top, to my hand. And then what what they also did was I figured if they're going to come up here, why not feed them here? So that's what I had. That's what I have ended up doing. So when they come into my hands, I'm able to give them food, and although how I do that has changed because of adding other fish. I used to be able to put food actually above the level of the water, and they jump out to get it. Anyhow, I don't think I necessarily miss that because they're still plenty entertaining, and so are the other fish. But that was something they could do. Nowadays, they will come up to my hands when there's food. You'll see all this much better in a feeding time video. They will bundle up in my hand. They will take the food. They will even eat some out of water sometimes, and then you can repeat until you fed them. Anyway, the another thing is, as you have reported in a lot of videos, changing these black Kuhli locks have something of an Easter egg for you. This is one of the first. I would say this is a minor Easter egg in this video. Your more major one is coming up, and one of the Easter eggs is I remember from a lot of your videos that changing anything in a tank immediately prior to feeding time, eliminates or dampens the appetite of most fish. Yes, I certainly agree with you that for probably, I'll take your word for it, that's the case with the fish species you own, and with the but it's not the case with these Kuhli locks. I can tell you that you'll find out more about the story behind this when the appropriate feeding time and stories for other fish come, but they've had to actually, because of some feeding time challenges with some other fish, I've had to actually build them a little, what I call a restaurant container, where they can get in, the other fish can't, and the first time I put it in, with the food, the pellets inside, they didn't shy away from it. They just came up to it to investigate it. Eventually, they got the hang of it. The black Kuhli locks got the hang of it and started to come in to eat. And so, as opposed to eliminating or dampening appetite, they were just happy to investigate. I'm guessing it's because they're so familiar with being handled at feeding time, with all the changes of handling, and they know my hands oftentimes mean food, so I think they knew well enough to keep their appetite up. Anyhow, the next observation, and this applies to all 3 or 4 of the Kuhli lock species I have, is that, well, my experience has taught me that as useful as websites like Locks Online are, chances are you've heard me mention this website before, although I don't know if you've heard of it, but you could have. Like, Locks Online recommends Kuhli locks be kept at the usual tropical temperatures of, I think, the mid 20 degrees Celsius to high 20 degrees Celsius, and they like slow flow, because apparently they come from slow-moving backwaters and swamps, so they don't like fast-moving water, according to Locks Online. And of course, Locks Online also says they need warmer water. Most sources would agree about the warmer water, but I mean, for whether the water should be fast or slow-moving for Kuhli locks is contradictory. Some sources say it should be slow, other sources say Kuhli locks love fast-moving water. And I have found with all these Kuhli lock species I have that they love fast-moving water. They don't seem to have any problems getting swept around in the current when they do come out, and a lot of the times, as you can see, they swim up and down, oftentimes directly against the current. So I think it's safe to say I know which side I'm on, whether Kuhli locks like fast or slow-moving water. Now, as for the temperature issue is decidedly less split. I've only ever seen one website that recommended slightly cooler than average temperatures for Kuhli locks. That would be Seriously Fish, and they weren't that much cooler than average. They didn't recommend below 21 Celsius. Anyway, here's the thing. This tank doesn't have a heater. It doesn't, and it actually, I don't think it ever gets much above 21 Celsius. It's usually stays between 18 degrees Celsius and 21 degrees Celsius. This is colder than your water in Naples gets at any time of year, Victor, but the Kuhli locks are doing great. They've been doing that as active as ever, not slowing down from too cold water as might be expected. As you can see, they're definitely on the active side. No white spot disease from too cold water, etc. I don't know what the explanation for this is. Either they must come from maybe mountain-fed streams in the wild, or maybe they are more adaptable fish than most think they are. Anyway, that's just my experience. I hope it benefits you to know about it. And now that you know about the black Kuhli locks. Okay, no. Sorry, I forgot one thing. I should explain, I think, just in general their appearance. As I touched over in the previous video, these dark brown or black locks against the light brown sand, the fake plants, the wood, the caves, the rocks. I feel it looks very natural. And also, these black Kuhli locks seem to have a decent amount of color variation. Some are a little lighter brown. Most are darker brown, but some are lighter brown. If you see here, that Kuhli lock that just fell was, as you saw, it was slightly lighter brown. Also, that Kuhli lock that just swam behind the rock was slightly lighter brown. That Kuhli lock that just fell is also lighter brown. Some of them are slightly lighter brown, and it's kind of like the difference, kind of like a slightly more muted difference between, if we think back to your Piraibas, the Alpha Peru Piraiba was pretty dark. The Beta Peru Piraiba was light. It's somewhat akin to that difference, and if you've got a large group of 24, it's nice to see that contrast. And some of them also get quite thick and fat with age. I can't confirm this because I can't tell which. It's hard to tell the individual fish apart, but some of them look like they could have eggs. I'm not sure about this because Kuhli lock eggs are said to be green, and there's no green tinge at all. Who knows? Anyhow, last but not least, taking into account everything I've explained, I'm not sure whether or not their group name as a whole, for fish that I can't tell individuals of apart, I like to give group names. I'm not sure their group name should be the handfuls of entertainment or the underwater black labs. I think there's merits to both. Like, as I was explaining, they're trainable. They're very trainable underwater pets, like a black lab in color and behavior, but underwater, and also the handfuls of entertainment, which gives a specific shout out to how much fun it is to have a big handful of Kuhli locks. Anyhow, I'm considering asking my friends for their opinion. Like, as I alluded to, your fish are not the only fish I'll be showing my friends. I'll be sure to give an update on the name my friends have chosen. So, whether it shall be the handfuls of entertainment or the underwater black labs is to be decided. Next of all, the striped Kuhli locks. There's you have seen several of them have come out in the story of the black Kuhli locks, and you can see them now. I think these are Pangeo semicincta, but if I'm going off of the pattern, I don't think all of them are. I think I've got a couple of what's known as giant Kuhli lock, Pangeo myersi, or whatever the pronunciation is. Because they've got just like solid black and yellow parts, and solid black and yellow parts, and like, compared to the more wiggly patterns of Pangeo semicincta, I think that's Pangeo mierci. I'm curious to see how large they will grow. After all, they are known as giant Kuhli lock. Uh, but I guess only time and their size is going to tell what they are. Anyway, these striped Kuhli locks I had first started getting in in 2020. I mean, I of course, like with the black Kuhli locks, I had my first ones in 2018, but being less robust fish than the black Kuhli locks, not as much of that shipment had ended up surviving, and didn't have any when I next tried again with them. So I next tried again in, I think, August 2022, bought a batch, didn't have an eye. As I said in the introductory video, I didn't have an eye for what were healthy Kuhli locks, and I had bought a batch of mostly thin, sickly-looking ones. Most of those ended up dying off. I only have 3 of them from the original batch today. I tried again in 2023. Those were healthier, decidedly thicker, and anyway, I think I bought them in September 20th, 2023, trying again. And they were put in here December 28th, 2023, when you'll hear much more about this, but in future videos, but this was actually funny enough. When I put them in here, it was on the same day my friend Liam came over for the first time to see the fish. Dealing with the acclimation jar actually slowed me down a little from entering the doorbell for him, which was funny. Anyhow, they've been in here since December 28th, 2023, and although they haven't reached, like, although it's not like been with the black Kuhli locks in terms of, like I was explaining with the black Kuhli locks, had far more potential to reach. Although it hasn't been in terms of how much potential the black Kuhli locks reach, they have reached some potential. Like, I mean, they're more timid than the black Kuhli locks, but some of them will come up to my hands briefly, not usually long enough to take food, but enough to briefly play with, which is nice. And although not all of them have figured out how to eat, I mean, like, as I might have said or might have missed, I think there's 15 of them in here. I think only between 6 to 8 have figured out how to use that Kuhli lock restaurant. So unlike, I think all of the black Kuhli locks have figured out how to use it. So I'm going to have to build them a new restaurant that's going to be a little more friendly. Anyhow, I would say the name for these, like what I said about the temperature and flow, like, also applies to these. No, sorry, I'm my bad. I already specified it already applied to all the Kuhli locks. Anyway, I would say the name for these striped Kuhli locks is the restaurant guests, because, or like the ones that have figured out how to use the restaurant, for those ones this is the case, and when I build hopefully the easy restaurant for all of them, it will be the case. I think probably I think they'll probably get most or all their food from the restaurant, so they're restaurant regulars. Unlike the black Kuhli locks, which get their food both from my hands and from the restaurant, the striped Kuhli locks would be much more regular visitors to the restaurant. Okay, you might have saw on the wood, and you can see between the wood and the fake pink plant. There's one of the ones I suspect is a giant Kuhli lock instead of just your average striped Kuhli lock. You could see how the stripes weren't so wiggly. Anyhow, that covers the striped Kuhli lock. So now it's time for the final species of Kuhli lock, and time for your main Easter egg in this video. So the third species of Kuhli, okay, there it is right now between the fake pink plant and the rock. Okay, it's going back to the fake pink plant, is my single neon Kuhli lock. So this has I would say the biggest thing about this neon Kuhli lock is that it's just been a bunch of unexpected positive surprise. So how I got it was not even intentionally setting out to buy neon Kuhli locks. I had been barely familiar with them and I had never seen them before. So imagine my surprise when I saw some neon Kuhli locks in that shipment of striped Kuhli locks I bought September 20th, 2023. I think there it was again between the fake pink plant and wood. Anyway, so those had actually shown up as contaminants in the shipment, unintentional hitchhikers. The pet store doesn't actually know how they can specifically source them, so I was extra lucky. There it is again. You can see it. A good thing it's coming out more for this video. It had been coming out before in the stories of the other Kuhli locks. Now it's also coming out for its specific story. I'm very glad to see that it is. Like, it was hesitant in the other videos, but had to. If you remember on the quality control videos, the only one I could get was a bit unintentional, but it's doing a great job right now. Anyway, I'll get a little more to that later. So the employee was able to catch 2 for me, and although one died in quarantine for a reason I could not tell, the other one had made it right through and has been doing pretty good in this tank. It's figured out how to use the Kuhli Lock restaurant. And although it's not as active as I would like it to be, of course, it's actually normally reasonably active for a lone Kuhli Lock. I can't wait to get it more companions and hopefully have them all come out on a regular basis, and hopefully this one will enjoy the company. Anyway, I'm thinking the fact that it's so active for a lone Kuhli Lock is maybe the fact that it just has the company of all the other different species of Kuhli locks. Either that or the neon Kuhli lock is a bold species. I'm hoping it's the latter because if it's a bold species, imagine a whole bunch of them naturally being bold. They might even be able to come up to my hands. That would be fabulous. They might even be bold enough to do that. Anyhow, so it actually is capable of exiting the restaurant by itself too, just like okay, no, sorry. No, I should explain that in the feeding time, etc. video. Sorry about that. Anyway, so the thing with the neon Kuhli lock is that besides just its rarity, it's got it's, as you saw, it's very thin. It's more like a snake or a piece of rope or something like that than the other Kuhli locks. It's not like the thicker black Kuhli locks or striped Kuhli locks. It's like much thinner, and just it really stands out that way. Like it's not swimming like a thin fish. It's slithering like a snake. Oh, you can see what I mean by the slithering right there, as if it just decided to come out and obey my demonstration. Anyhow, to me the main appeal of this fish is its gorgeous cast metal, polished metal skin. As you can see, sorry. It's sorry about that. The polished. I don't know how well you can see in the video, but it's got the that's why it's called neon Kuhli lock. Okay, I think now you can see it's got a real shine to it, and immediately, right from the get-go, the fish this reminded me of, this is your Easter egg, was the Dorada catfish, Brachyplatystoma roseoxy, or however it's pronounced. That's how you pronounce it in the video of the Dorada catfish story. And the thing is, I've always absolutely adored the beauty of the Dorada catfish. That gorgeous shiny metal skin of theirs is just amazing. Like, as you say, they're strikingly beautiful fish. And but the problem, of course, is not just that they grow huge. Like, the adults would get at least as long as this tank. I can't take care of a fish like that. But as you said in their video, just in general, they're very, or as I quote from that video, from what I watched in that video, they're very, very, very hard to house. Like you said, they're skittish. They have a tendency to, they run into the wall, injure their snout, bend their snout. Oftentimes they kill themselves, and they need a lot of space for their size. Your Dora in the video from June 18, 2020, it rubbed the blister on its snout. which I remember seeing, which is painful and just not pleasant. So, and of course, when you moved it to the 1800 gallon or 7K liter out of the 240 gallon or 1K liter, it's had some compatibility issues with the fish in there. You had to move out black sharks, silver dollars, Asian upside down catfish, and I think probably a few more. And then in the 7K, 1800 gallon or 7K liter, it's been hesitating at feeding time. Like I saw your videos, hesitating in skittish Dorada catfish. Threw in food 4 times, didn't take it because it's unfamiliar. I remember that one from January 20th, 2024, for example. And then, of course, it's been attacking fish while refusing to eat the food you throw in there. Like I remember attacked the Aro Barbel, the Bala shark, and of course it's the suspect in the fish that attacked the sick largemouth bass before the Chinese whales ate it. Or I don't know if you confirmed it or not. Anyway, and so the thing about the neon Kuhli loch is that even though it has the same beautiful cast metal skin as the Dorada catfish, it's completely the opposite of what you have been reporting on the Dorada catfish. Like, it's very, very, very easy fish. Stays small. That it doesn't get any bigger than other Kuhli loch species to my knowledge, so should be very easy to accommodate in 473 liter 125 gallon tank. It unlike the Dorada catfish, it is not extremely skittish. I mean, this lone one can be skittish at times. It can spook easily, but I don't know if that's just because it's alone. I think maybe getting more could solve that problem. Anyway, even if it was naturally skittish, it's not big enough, unlike the Dorada catfish, it's not big enough to get the momentum up to run into the wall with enough force to kill itself. It also does not have a tendency to rub a sore on its a snout or rub a blister on its face like your Dora did with one of its whiskers. And also, of course, being a Kuhli loch, it's the perfect community fish. It does not attack fish it can't swallow, and of course, as I said, it's willing to come to the Kuhli loch restaurant for as much of its helping as it should have. It's not hesitating like or skittish like the Dorada catfish is in that regard. And this is actually exactly the kind of thing my friends are going to be seeing in that introductory fish story presentation about the. When I mentioned Dora, the Dorada catfish, and its difficulties are going to be as the focal point, one of the main focal points in this presentation. They're going to be the context for the neon Kuhli loch I have in here. So basically, the message it will be trying to convey is, of course, not only your very good, honest, entertaining, educational reporting, and not only the fact that you have managed so far to very well document this this beautiful but challenging Dorada catfish that nobody else has well documented to the size you have raised it. It's the takeaway from okay, there's the neon Kuhli loch again. The takeaway for my friends is going to be that this is an excellent alternative to the Dorada catfish. Like, all the beauty, none of the difficulty, and that's the thing. I never expected ever to be able to scratch the itch of I have for the Dorada catfish's beauty. Like, even if I had the tank space, I would not tolerate all those difficulties. Like, I would be limited to, at best, coming over to Fish Story and seeing it for tolerable stuff. But the neon Kuhli loch is the perfect alternative for all that. And that's what's going to be its name. It's called the Easy Dorada, or maybe Easy Dora to take after specifically your Dorada catfish. So looks like that covers all the species of Kuhli lochs in here. Of course, this video will have to be updated if I can manage to get more neon Kuhli lochs, but looks like 34. Looks like it will be just under 35 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you liked the Easter eggs. And of course, I remember I asked you in 2021, I think, whether or not there had been any lochs at Fish Story. You mentioned you had some Kuhli lochs, but not for long. If it's not an issue, or not inconvenient, I'd just be curious to know how your experience with the species of Kuhli lochs you had, how does it compare to what you learned in this story? would be much appreciated, as you say, to learn from peer experience. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to make the next story video.